Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Native English Podcast, brought to you by Native English Stories. It's your cozy little place where you learn English with confidence, naturally, and without the stress. I'm Sarah.
And I'm John. If you're listening right now, just take a quick breath. Seriously. Choosing to dedicate this time to your English is a huge win, and you should genuinely feel good about that.
Absolutely. It's all about those small, consistent steps. But before we dive into the deep end, how's your day actually going?
Honestly, it's been one of those all-over-the-place days. You know, the kind where your brain is like a browser with 50 tabs open and you just can't find the off switch?
I definitely know that feeling. Mine was the total opposite, actually. Quite peaceful. I went for a walk this evening and found myself thinking about thinking. I know that sounds a bit meta.
Thinking about thinking. Honestly, that's perfect for what we're talking about today.
It really is, and before we get into the why and how, a quick shout out to everyone listening. If this podcast helps you even a little, please hit that subscribe button and follow the show. We create these episodes because we want you to feel confident and empowered, not stuck in a cycle of confusion. And if you're someone who understands almost everything you hear in English, but still freezes the moment you have to speak, this episode was made specifically for you.
Couldn't agree more. So, Sarah, let me ask you, when you're speaking, does your brain ever feel like it's just working way too hard?
Oh, all the time. But here's the kicker. It's usually not because the English language itself is hard. It's because the brain is trying to juggle too many jobs at once.
Yes, and that mental overload almost always stems from one very specific, very common habit.
Translation. That process of thinking in your native language first, translating it in your head, and then trying to say it out loud.
And by the time your brain finishes all those steps, either the moment has passed or your confidence has completely vanished. Today, we're going to help you fix that.
Or both.
Haha, usually both. So today we are talking about something really important. How to think in English and gradually stop translating in your head.
And this is not magic. It is not some special talent that only certain people have.
It is definitely not about being perfect either. It is about gently, slowly, and naturally training your brain over time.
Let us start with something reassuring. If you are translating in your head right now, that does not mean you're bad at English. It means you're human.
Every beginner does it. Even advanced learners do it sometimes in tricky situations.
The problem is not translation itself. The problem is depending on it all the time for every single thought.
Let's imagine a very real situation. You're at a coffee shop. The person behind the counter asks you a simple question.
Something like, "How are you today?"
And in your head, your brain immediately says, okay, what does that mean in my language? Then it searches for the perfect answer, then grammar arrives, then the fear of saying something wrong arrives.
And finally, silence, just standing there hoping they don't notice.
Yes, that happens to so many learners. And it happens because the brain is trying to do 3 jobs at the exact same moment: understand, translate, and create a sentence.
That is genuinely exhausting. No wonder it doesn't flow.
So the first step toward thinking in English is not actually speaking more, it's simplifying how you think.
Let us look at how children learn language. Because children do not translate, they connect words directly to feelings, actions, and situations.
A child hears the word hungry and they feel hunger. They don't translate it first. The word and the feeling are directly connected.
That's what we want to rebuild in our adult learning brains. Word to meaning to feeling, not word to translation to meaning.
Here's a small and very easy exercise for our listeners. When you hear the word coffee, don't translate it.
Instead, picture it. Imagine the smell. Feel the warmth of the cup in your hands.
That's thinking in English. You bypassed translation completely.
Let's try another one. The word late.
Don't translate, just feel the mild panic, the rushing, the stress of being behind.
Yes, exactly that feeling.
Thinking in English starts with images and feelings, not with sentences and grammar.
Now let's talk about your inner voice, that quiet voice inside your head that runs commentary on your whole day.
Most people think in their native language completely automatically, and we're not trying to erase that.
We're adding a second voice, a parallel voice that begins to run alongside the first one.
For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of your usual thoughts in your first language, try dropping in a short English thought. Something like, "It's going to be a long day," or "I need coffee right now."
At first, it will feel slow, maybe a little odd, like you're wearing someone else's jacket.
That's such a good way to describe it.
But that feeling is completely normal. Growth always feels uncomfortable before it starts to feel natural.
Let's talk about the fear of mistakes, because that fear is usually what keeps translation alive.
Yes, many learners translate precisely because they're afraid of making a mistake in English. They want to get it perfect before it comes out.
But here's the thing. If you think too carefully about every word, you stop thinking in English and you start thinking about English.
And those are very different things.
Thinking in English is messy at first. Short thoughts, broken phrases, sometimes grammatically wrong sentences.
And that's completely okay, because fluency comes from using the language, not from perfecting it.
Let me share something personal. When I first started learning another language, I translated absolutely everything.
Same here, every single word. It was so slow.
But the day I allowed myself to sound a bit silly and imperfect, everything shifted. I stopped trying to translate full sentences.
And started thinking in chunks instead, small ready-made pieces like, I think, I want to, I'm not sure about that.
These chunks help your brain move so much faster because it doesn't have to build each sentence from zero every time.
So here's a really useful tip for our listeners. Focus on learning ready-made phrases before worrying too much about individual grammar rules.
Phrases like, I feel like, let me think, maybe later, I'm not sure about that. When you use these in your thoughts daily, your brain starts switching naturally.
Thinking in English is not an on-off switch. It's a habit, and habits need repetition, not pressure.
Before we go deeper, let's pause for a second.
Yes, if you're listening right now and thinking, wow, this is exactly what happens to me, you're not alone, and you're definitely not late to this.
You're right on time. Now let's talk about how you actually begin to change the habit, because understanding the problem is one thing.
And changing a deeply rooted habit is something else entirely.
Let's be honest here. You don't stop translating overnight. If someone says to you, from tomorrow, only think in English, that's completely unrealistic advice.
Your brain has been running on one language for years, sometimes for your whole life. We don't fight the brain.
We work with it, gently and consistently.
Let us start with something very simple, daily inner talk. This is more powerful than it sounds.
Most people already talk to themselves inside their heads all day. They just never notice it.
So we're not adding extra work. We're just gradually shifting the language of that existing inner conversation.
For example, imagine you're in the kitchen making tea. Instead of your usual thoughts, try dropping in short English ones.
I need water. The kettle is on. It's getting hot. These are not exam sentences. They're just thoughts.
And thoughts don't need grammatical perfection. They need speed and flow.
This is how thinking in English truly starts, not with impressive conversations, with tiny everyday moments.
Another habit that really helps is naming things around you.
Yes, when you see an object, name it in English inside your head. You don't have to say it out loud if that feels strange.
Chair, window, phone charger, the light is on, the room is quiet.
It sounds childish, and that's actually the point. This is how children build that direct connection between the word and the thing, with no translation bridge in the middle.
And slowly, your brain starts doing this automatically without you even trying.
Now let's talk about feelings, because this is where learners often struggle most.
Yes, because feelings are deeply personal, and language feels very intimate when it comes to emotions.
But start small. Instead of trying to think long emotional sentences in English, use simple feeling words first.
Tired, happy, annoyed, excited, nervous, relieved.
For example, you finish a long and difficult day. Instead of translating a full sentence, just think, I'm exhausted.
Your brain understands. The feeling and the word connect directly.
Now here's a very common mistake. Learners wait until their English is perfect before they allow themselves to think in English.
But perfect English comes after thinking practice, not before it. You have to do it badly first. That is just how it works.
Let us talk about thinking speed. When you translate, your thinking speed is slow. When you think directly in English, speed increases.
But only if you allow mistakes. The mistakes are not the enemy. They are signs that the brain is moving.
Imagine someone asks you, "What did you do yesterday?"
If you translate first, your brain says, yesterday, what did I do? How do I say this in English? What is the right tense?
And you are already 3 seconds behind the conversation.
Yes. But if you think in English even roughly, you might just think yesterday, work, long, tired, went home.
And then you speak, "I worked yesterday and came home really tired." Simple, natural, clear.
Not perfect grammar maybe, but completely understood. And that is communication.
Now let's talk about thinking in chunks, not individual words. This is such an important idea.
Native speakers do not think word by word. They think in ready pieces.
Chunks like, "I think it is," "I'm not sure," "It depends," "I feel like," "kind of," "sort of."
When you learn and use these chunks, your brain relaxes because it doesn't have to construct every sentence from scratch.
So here's a practical weekly habit. Choose 3 useful chunks every week. Use them in your internal thoughts throughout the day.
For example, I think I need a break. I think it will be fine. I think I should try again.
And slowly, these chunks become completely automatic. They start coming out in conversation without any effort.
Let's also talk about listening because thinking and listening are deeply connected.
Yes, when you listen to English, do not try to translate everything you hear. That's actually impossible to do well anyway.
Instead, catch the key words, feel the situation, pick up on the emotion and the tone.
If you understand 60 to 70%, that's genuinely enough. Your brain fills in a lot of the rest using context.
Many learners pause podcasts every few seconds to translate, and while that can help sometimes, it also breaks the natural flow.
Try sometimes to just let the language wash over you. Let your brain swim in it rather than trying to walk through it word by word.
Wow, I love that image, swimming versus walking.
Thank you. Now let's talk about self-pressure because it's one of the biggest obstacles.
When you think, I must speak perfectly or I must sound fluent right now, your brain actually freezes up.
So change the internal rule. New rule, I just need to be understood. That's all that is required in this moment.
That rule is friendly, it's realistic, and your brain can actually work within it.
Here's something that sounds strange but works beautifully. Talk to yourself in English when no one is around.
In the shower, while walking outside, while cooking, while waiting for something.
Just narrate what you're doing. I'm cutting vegetables. This smells really good. I should hurry. I'm getting hungry.
At first, it feels very strange. Haha.
Then it feels normal, and then it starts feeling genuinely helpful.
And here's something worth saying about accents. When you're thinking to yourself, accents do not matter at all.
Your inner voice does not have an accent that anyone can judge. Your head is a completely safe and private practice space.
Use that freedom. Use it every single day.
Now let's face the thing we haven't addressed directly yet. Fear.
Yes, the fear that stops so many people from thinking in English even when they know how.
Fear of being wrong. Fear of sounding foolish. Fear of pausing. Fear of silence.
This fear is very real and it's completely normal. Almost every English learner experiences it.
The problem is that fear pushes people right back to translation because their first language feels safe, familiar, like home.
And English, especially at first, can feel like a guest room. You're not quite settled in yet.
But here's what learners really need to hear. You don't stop translating by force. You stop translating by trust.
Trusting that simple English is enough. Trusting that one small mistake will not ruin the conversation.
Trusting that the person listening wants to understand you and will meet you halfway.
Let's talk about mistakes one more time because learners genuinely hate them.
But even in your own language, you don't think perfectly. You stop mid-thought, you change direction, you repeat yourself.
So why hold English to a standard that you don't even apply to your own native language?
That expectation creates enormous pressure, and pressure shuts down natural thinking.
Thinking in English needs space, calm and gentle mental space.
That's why confidence matters more than grammar at the thinking stage. A confident and relaxed brain learns and produces language so much faster.
Here's a rule that simplifies everything. If your message is clear, it's good enough English for right now.
In real conversations, prepare thoughts and not full sentences. Someone asks, "How was your weekend?"
Don't rehearse a perfect paragraph. Just think relaxing, family, nice weather, watched a film.
Then speak. "My weekend was really relaxing. I spent time with family and watched a film."
Thinking gave you the ideas. Speaking made them a sentence. Beautiful.
And for our listeners, here's a simple daily routine that actually works.
Morning. Drop a few short English thoughts into your head while you get ready. I need coffee. It's cold today. I'm gonna be okay.
During the day, name what you were doing. Walking, waiting, thinking, feeling tired.
In the evening, take 1 minute to reflect very simply. What went well today? What was hard? All in short, simple English.
No dictionary needed, no perfect grammar required, just meaning.
And please celebrate your small wins. If you thought one full sentence in English today without translating first, that's a win.
If you answered someone without going through your first language, that's real progress.
If you felt even slightly less afraid than last week, that's growth.
Thinking in English is not about speed, it's about comfort, and comfort grows gradually.
At the end of the day, comfort leads to confidence, and once you have that confidence, fluency naturally follows.
Exactly, and fluency is really just freedom, the freedom to express who you are and connect with people from every corner of the world.
Being able to be fully yourself in another language, that's a genuinely beautiful thing.
So please be patient with yourself. You aren't behind. You're learning, and you're exactly where you need to be.
Right. Learning takes exactly as long as it takes. There's no rush.
If this episode helped you even a little, if it made the idea of thinking in English feel just a bit less scary, please subscribe to the channel and stay part of our native community.
We're right here with you through every mistake, every step, and every single moment of progress.
Remember, you don't need perfect English. You just need English that starts to live naturally in your mind.
Also, if you want a few quick exercises to help you stop translating in your head, I've left a guide in the pinned comment below. Definitely check that out.
Keep thinking, keep trying, and just keep going. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.